let's get start demo first. So this is Blazor WebAssembly with EF core and SQLite, and how we can create an EF core with SQLite, which will we implement in this session. So let's, if I see, as of now I don't have any data. Okay, once I create add, so it will create a new data and it will store via using EF core and store the data in a SQLite, and also it will work only inside that browser. Okay, so that is a great flexibility give us that, Blazor WebAssembly with EF core and SQLite. So that will be implemented over here. Suppose I just create another one. See, there's a two. Let me just small that so that you can see. So I just create a three data. Okay, let's create a three row in this table, and once I suppose if I close, so definitely uh, it should be gone, right? But it is not gone. It should be persist. So that I'll show you. Let me close the application. Let me rerun again. And once you rerun, you will get same data whatever you have added. So because it is stored in our SQLite inside the browser cache. Okay, so let's get start to implementation, how we can achieve this. So before that, I'm especially recommend, if you first time visited my channel, so go to my channel and you can see many stuff over here for this learning, like Blazor WebAssembly, server side, grid, generic repository, and Mau.NET Mayu Blazor hybrid app, and also clean architecture, many stuff over there, so you can learn more. Okay, so let's get start implementation. So first what I need to do, let me create a new project. I will show you from the scratch. So whatever recommendation, whatever are a prerequisition, so everything will do from the scratch, how we can implement. So let me create a new project, and I'll use that Blazor WebAssembly standalone app. Okay, so see, let me search over here, so you will get that all the templates. So I will use that Blazor WebAssembly so that I can show you like how we can create a EF core using with SQLite and in the Blazor WebAssembly, not using a server side, right? So later on I will use that server side, but yeah, in this session I will use only the WebAssembly. So let me create a name, for example Blazor WebAssembly uh, EF core SQLite, and let me next create a next, and here I'll just keep its default setting whatever we have, and create a next. So I have created this solution. Now see, it is pretty much similar, and also it is just I created a .NET 8, so it is almost similar whatever we have. Okay, there is no much changes over here. There's a pages section. In this pages section they provide given that default counter page, home page, and weather forecast. And also if you go to that project setup, it is similar, .NET 8 and null level, and it is using component Blazor WebAssembly and WebAssembly depth server, and that's it. There's nothing special. And also we have a program.cs file. It is also this is normal configuration to start up your application. So let's run and see what is the default template they have provided. So now it's running, and see, it is a normal template, normal hello world component, and it is a counter component which we can increase, and this is a weather component. So now start to implementation. So go back to your SQLite application and the solution. First thing first, what I need to do, I need to add one package. So let me add one package. Let me stop first because it will not allow to add the packages. So first I need to add a packages. So go to the manage and console over here, and the package's name is SQLite Web helper. Okay, and also one more thing actually to highlight over here. Let me zoom in so that you can able to see. So this is that package name, you can find out, and this is that SQLite BASM helper. Using the BASM helper I will use that EF core and with the SQLite, and but see, the main part is now it is available only the beta version. Okay, so if you search in your NuGet package, you will not able to get. Why? Because you have to use that include pre-release version. Without this check, you will not able to get it. Okay, so then make sure you have checked so that you can get this SQLite WebAssembly helper. As of now, in this session, I will use this one, but yeah, later part I will use without that SQL WebAssembly helper. How can I achieve these things? And also, this is a very nice thing. So it is a MIT license version. There is a no issue, and all the dependency, whatever dependency we required for this, in implement that SQLite with EF core, so that will provide this package. So that's why I want to install this one. So let me install. See, there's a many packages, right? Whatever we required. See, SQLite core, framework, abstraction, and memory dependency injection bundle. So these are also required. So this is a main button. So once I apply, accept, so it should be installed. Okay, this is installed. It is showing the green tick, but it is not showing over here installed. I don't know why, but yeah, there's a some issue, I guess. Then yes, now see, I just refresh, so might be it's store something, so issue over there. So let me save it. Okay, before that, SQLite in Blazor WebAssembly, one thing you have to do, that is a very important. Go to the tools, because one tools actually required. So go to that tool section and go to that your get tools and features. Once you click that, you will able to see this pop-up window, and here what you need to do, just go to that, there's a workload section and there's an individual component. So make sure whatever version you're trying to use, like suppose you are using .NET 7, right, or .NET 8, so whatever version, you just make sure you have to uh, check this WebAssembly build tool, and this is first thing you have to make sure you checked this one. Suppose you're using 6, so you have to check this one, right? So as of now I'm using .NET 8, so I can use .NET 7, or like there is a one more option over here, you can just use default without version, right? So this is one. So if you not enable this, .NET WebAssembly build tool, definitely you will get that some error, and I'll show you what is that error you will get. So let me show you what error you will get. You will get one error that is called something like that. You will get this error like Microsoft SQL connector throw. Let me zoom in for you. So this error you will get, right? So I face many hours to fix this error, so that's why I'll just highlighting to you, like don't mistake this then. So enable this one, this is a prerequisite. So two things you have to do, that either you can enable this one, or either you whatever compatible version you can use this one. So uh, I suggest choose both, so that there is no complaint why this implement this. Okay, so let me close everything and go to over here. So once you import this, like install this, I need to create a data context. So let me create a folder over here, like for example data, and first of all I'll just create a one class, my entity class over here. So what would be the my entity class name, like my task, and here simply I'll just create to property of that my entity and name, and then finally I'll just create a date time property over here. So date time, not date only but date time, it's fine. And then finally I'll just change it the name. What is would be the name, like on created. So that is done. Now I have to create DB context class. So let me create a DB context class. So call it name task db context.cs. And once you create a db context, you have to configure some db context over here. So db context class you have to inherit over here, so that you can pass your object and you can specify your entity. So create a constructor over here first. So let me create a constructor, and here what I would like to do over here, db context options, db context options, and pass your whatever db context. So you can just pass over here in this parameter, and here what you need to do, just specify variable over here, context options, and call it to your base class and pass the here. That's it. Like, this is a configuration you have to do if you aware that how we can implement db context. So this is a very pretty similar approach. And one more things, you have to specify your entity. So let me create your db set, so and pass it to my task, and would be name like task. So that is done for db context. So go further. Okay, so this is done. Now need to configure how we can actually call this db context. We have to actually resolve the dependency as well, right? So how we can do that, go to that program.cs file. Here you have to use and resolve the dependency, and we have to use this one extension method which will provide whatever we that it is called that package. Actually, this inside this package we have that extension method. We have to resolve our dependency. So go back to your program.cs file. Here you need to call builder dot services, and then call add SQLite DB context factory, right? But it is not available. Why? Because I have to use here that namespace. I have to call that namespace. So what is my call this namespace is that SQLite WebAssembly helper. So you just mention over here SQLite WebAssembly helper, then you are able to get your this extension method. And here simply I have to pass my not my, it is a db task db context, and you have to pass that options, and in this options I need to use whatever service provider. So what is my service provider? My service provider would be use SQLite, right? And inside I have to specify whatever our db name. So my data source, specify my data source name is my task db dot SQLite 3, and that's it. So now I just specify my whatever would be my db name, SQLite DB. So this is my SQLite DB name, and this configuration has been completed. So this is done. Now we are ready to use that factory to get whatever our data using store in this db context, right? So let me go to that page and go to that home page. Here simply what I need to do, I need to call that iSQL DB context factory. So before call, actually I have to import that SQL helper inside that global mechanism here, right? Import dot reserve file. So let me import that over here, so that they will not complaining to get that reference using. And here what I will do, that SQLite helper. So just import over here globally, so that no need to define again and again every page wise. So that I just specify. Now what I need to do, let me inject one service that is called SQLite WebAssembly DB context factory, and here I'll just pass whatever our DB context factory. Let me copy the same name. I guess, yeah, this is the name. So let me copy the name, go back to over here and pass it to over here, and then let me create a factory. Once it's done, then we are easily to use this one and get the data. So let me create a code block in this here to write our logic. So first of all, what I will do, I'll just create one private method so that I can load the data from the DB, our SQLite DB. So private void and use for example load, and let me create a instance of this. So how we can use that, create the instance using block, because it should be create a factory, right? So it's proper disposable we required, right? So once create the instance, it's automatically should be disposable. So where and ctx and await factory dot create db context async method. Just call to create a factory over here, and then finally using this ctx variable you will get that uh, our db set, right? So db set dot to list here, and then we can just store whatever data we have, we can just store as a variable. So what would be my variable over here? Let me create a private variable like a list of my task, and here just call it task, and this task I'll just assign to over here whatever I retrieving, right? So just let me retrieving. Okay, so this is done. See, this is a straightforward implementation. We can just create a factory db context method, and using that factory db context I can use whatever our uh, entities, right? So I can get the result. And now this task I need to over here like looping through, I want to show over here, right? So what I will do, I will use a for each loop. Let me create a for each loop, and here I'll just pass it to this, like whatever our list list of our task, that will I just iterate through the for each loop, right? So that I will do over here. Simply I just create a uh, one h5 hashtag helper tag hashtag over here, and I'll show you like, okay, I just pass it to our class so that it's feel good. So that's why I put a hashtag inside the class, and then what I'm trying to do, whatever our item have that id, item has that name, and item has that on created date, right? So that's I just trying to retrieve over here and just iterate through. I will pass it over here and I will show over here, right? So this is done. Now also I'll show you on the demo from the starting. I have to just add data, because initially it should be empty, right? Because there is no data, it's a blank SQLite DB, so it does not have any data. So I can show you how we can write a data as well. So let me create a button over here. So very so let me create a button over here. See, this is a button. I just create a class, and let me write over here. So see, I just create a new method so that I can inside that click I can add that data, right? So let me create another method, another function. We call it the function here void, and let me call that function name. And similarly again I need to create a context class over here. I just create a factory over here it is await. So let me make it to async, and then I need to add the data dot add. Before add I need to pass that our entity. What is my entity? My entity is task. My DB set is task, and then I need to add a sync, and inside the add a sync I can pass whatever our expectation parameter over. So this add a sync I required pass my my entity, right? So this is just a hard coded entity. I'm just passing over here. I just create a new my task class, and here just pass it a name and create it all. See, I'm not passing any ID because ID will be generated automatically in this my task table, right? And yeah, that's it for here. So once I click now also I need to do save changes, because without save changes it will not be store in our table. So let me call it the save changes. That's it. So once I save changes, it should be saved into our DB. And finally, once I save changes, I need to call this method, because once I suppose for example I just click this button, so that button what will do, it will just add into the DB, right? But again I have to reload, I have to refresh this component. So instead of refresh this component, what I will do, simply I can call this method, so that this method will call again, it will try to fetch and store the data, and data will be updated in this list, and the list will be updated again in this component. One more things I have to specify over here, I need to check actually. So because initial level this component will be this data will be empty, right? So that's why I need to one check over here. If it's not null, then I have to iterate loop through the data. So that is done. Yes, I hope that should be work. Okay, one more thing actually missing. See, this is a one component in Blazor. If you aware that Blazor life cycle, so we have to use that on initialize method, so that once component will load, so that first that life cycle hook will call. So what is that method? Let me create that method that I missing over here. So override, once you put the override on initialize, see this two method actually call the first time while initialize that your component. So I will use that async one, whatever one you want you can just use it, just pass it to over here, so that once initialize over here, like let me put await. So once this component will load, your this method will load, will call, and this method will get the data and store in here, and it will bind in here, right? It's complaining something. Why it's complaining? Okay, so this method async, but we are not using a task. So let me create a task and remove this void. So that is done, and also you can just put over here await. So this is a pretty much simple simple coding over here to achieve this EF core and SQLite achievement. And let me run and see in action. Now see, component is loaded. Also I will show you in a F12. See the what you are doing over here. See, once you running your application, it is automatically it is firing, right? See, this code is firing like first time it is just creating this, and then it's just creating a table as well, because there is a no data. So that's why first time just automatically behind this code, whatever they get doing package, so it will create your table, whatever entity you provided automatically will create it over here. I'll show you in a zooming mode. So see, this table has created with this name and all things, and also it is getting the data. So this is that retrieving our table data, which we showing as a initialize mode, right? So those are things also here. So once I click, see, once I click add, so another insert command is fire, and the table will be insert, and then again you see the command is fire to get that your retrieve the data. So see again, suppose for example click one more, again it will create, insert it and get it the data, right? And suppose what I will do, just let me close this application. So once I will close, and once I will run again, let me run again. So ideally if you use in memory data, so it should not keep in persist, but see it is persist, right? Because it is using a in memory browser cache. Whatever our SQL data, it will store in our browser cache, so that's why it is storing. And till now, once you have not clean the memory, the cache memory, it will be persist. And also I will show you in a table, right? Let me show you in a browser tool. I'll show you how, where actually this is storing data. So go to your application over here, and if you go to cache storage, so once you go to the cache storage, you are able to see over here, see SQLite web assembly, right? Web assembly helper. So inside this web assembly helper, uh let me down it so that you can able to see. Let me close this. See, the stores, the location is data cache, and then whatever db name we have set over here, right? So let me show you whatever db name we set our db name is this my task db SQLite 3. So that name will be available over here inside this data cache lagoon, and also whatever length and these things we will also. And how we can download this db, that I will show you how we can download and check, okay, whatever table we have created, whatever data we have created, that is available or not. So one thing you have to do, use that console, okay? And here let me clear that there's a one API, so this using that uh not working, I guess. So no issue, can I can find out over here. So let me call one API to get that db. So first what I will do, using a constant variable, using the cache variable over here, and await, inside the await we use that caches, right? Cache memory. And here there's a many method over here provided, and I will just open whatever name we saw, right? We saw it is stored in SQLite WASM helper. So make sure you put the correct name, and once you done, so let me hit enter. Once you done, then everything actually that SQL helper will be open in this cache, which we using in the constant variable. Now second, I'll just create again another constant for that response, and that response will again I will use that await. I will use the cache, whatever I see, the hash e, and dot, there is a method I will call that match. So match, and then whatever path we saw on, right, in this uh, cache memory, so that path we can specify over here. Like for example, we saw it is storing in the data, and then cache, and then whatever our db name. So my db name is my task db dot SQLite. Let me check again one more time so that I don't miss anything. Okay, SQLite 3, right? My task db SQLite 3. So that name I have to specify here, SQLite 3, and close that. So that response, whatever things we are getting is inside, it is stored the response. And then finally the last command I have to post over here, constant blob. So it will actually creating a blob inside the browser cache. So that will I have to store in the blob. So await and response dot blob. See the blob over here, and then finally that hit enter, and it will be store the blob, and then finally I can get that name using that URL. So using that URL API URL and call that create object URL, and whatever that blob you just pass it over here blob. Now see you are able to get this blob http localhost and uh, that file, right? So once you click and click over here, it will download over here. So go to over here and just change it to extension, because this is an extension of DB. SQLite also using that DB extension. So change it to DB extension and open your any SQLite tools, SQLite Studio, and let me point it over here. Let me clear everything, so whatever we have, remove all the database, and let me point out the DB. Go to here and this one, right, which today is we just download. Open that, open here, and let me double click over here. And if you go to that column, see there is a columns, there's a tables over here, there's a column, and also let me find the data. So task, if you use the task, because the table name is task, and I just pointed over it. See same data whatever we added, I can get it over here. So like this way you can just install, you can just download your blog in SQLite DB inside the browser. How we can download? So these are the steps. So make sure you don't miss this step, so that you can, if you record, you can just download and check like, okay, whatever our SQLite DB in proper uh, you know store the data or not, right? So this is a verify mechanism actually. So this is done. And one more thing actually I would like to show you how is actually working in the browser in your SQLite DB. So there's a one nice workflow I have. I'll show you. Like see, this workflow actually working like this way, like how we can store the data. So first it will start, and then check that get file name for the data store. If it is the first time, then it will generate or restore the file name. If it is not first time, so that whatever file we have, they will generate a backup file name and use a backup, and then call the JavaScript, right? And then once call the JavaScript, and this JavaScript, if you call the first time this JavaScript, so again it will backup in the cache. And if it is not first time, so what will do, it will store the backup into cache, right? And again if we yes part, so if it is a backup in our cache, then if again it will check if it is yes, so then it will restore for the WebAssembly file system and go to the return to the .NET, right? If it is no, what will do, if yes, then it will restore and then call. If it is no, then it will directly call to return to .NET over here. And what it will do again, now check here, finally return to .NET, and then backup load from the cache. And here finally if it is backup load from the cache, so it will end over here. Either if it is yes, then again it will restore the database and then end. Like so, this is the flow actually inside the browser, how actually handling our database, SQL database, and store the our data while using that creating a data, right, using the SQLite. So this is done for this session, and next session actually will create one, see, that is I'll create one nice things over here. So that will create insert update delete with this nice fill look. And also I will use that quick grid, how we can implement quick grid with using that SQLite and store the data. So that will be do in next upcoming session. So till now, thank you, have a nice day, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share.